Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, where everything you are about to hear and see has been done in one take. I'm your host, the One Take Man. Happy Pride Month to all who celebrate, and to all those who hate it, well, I don't know, choke on your bile, I guess. And, well, the thing is, given it is Pride Month, and and I will continue to talk about it for as long as it is controversial in any way, I thought, you know what? Why not make a video on the topic? My initial thought on this topic was really to make a video where I would like compare and contrast, maybe even rank by aesthetics the various pride flags. However, any kind of uh, ranking matrix that I was able to find online, I don't know. There was always something about it that I wasn't particularly fond of. So for that reason, I decided to not do that. And instead, I decided to do what I did last year when I talked about the Stonewall riots and talk about some aspect of LGBTQ history. Uh, or more precisely, read an article on LGBTQ history from Wikipedia. Thing is, almost all aspects of it have some pretty sizable articles to them. So, which would have also entailed that the video itself also be multiple parts, which for various reasons doesn't really inspire me. I do I do have other plans and other intentions for the month. Thankfully, I was able to find one that is relatively short. Timeline of LGBTQ history in Romania. This is not the first time I'm reading off Romanian history from Wikipedia, particularly the English-speaking one. So you know what, it might just be worth it. See, it's available in two languages. English is obviously one of them. The other is oh there are two other languages in which it is available, in Spanish and Romanian. Yeah, not surprising. There is a huge Romanian community in Spain. There are in fact sizable Romanian communities in a lot of in a lot of Western European countries. I'm not going to go into the mechanics of that now. Uh, and you know what? Actually, let me check. Let me check a little bit on how long those are. No, I do not want to translate. Small writing, wide writing, hide this. Okay, looks pretty. Uh, you know, looks fine. I actually think it is a little bit. Hmm. Oh, they actually have a little bit less to say, but but the article, I don't know, the articles are still comparable in length. So, what about, what about in Romanian? Again, pretty comparable. So, it really doesn't make a difference in what language I'm reading it. So I might as well, might as well read the English one. The one that in the language that I typically use on this platform. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Starting from the top, homosexual acts in Romania were decriminalized on the 6th of September 2001. And yeah, that did cause, I think, a little bit of a stir, when it was brought up, particularly in the sense that it led to the creation of one particular far-right militia. Though, admittedly, I don't think that far-right militia really had much of a leg to stand on afterwards. There is this note here that says how Romania became a battleground in the transatlantic backlash against LGBT rights. Yeah, the topic is still somewhat controversial, to no one's surprise. Anyway, let's get a little deeper into it. Middle Ages. As with much of Europe during this time, the Romanian Middle Ages were largely characterized by hard labor and poverty brought about by classism. Admittedly, this is, this little sentence is a little bit more wokely, should I say, formulated than I thought it would, than I thought it would be. Like specifically stating that classism leads to hard labor and poverty. But still, it is. I can't really say I can't really say it's inaccurate because, yeah, that is very much the case. Nobility thought that peasants deserve nothing because because they're too stupid to have anything beyond what is granted to them. So by that right, they should, so by that right, they decided to withhold. And they decided to withhold as much as they could get away with, which surprisingly was quite a bit. Anyway, moving ahead, these issues played into weird to see the played into written like this wider problems of societal regression, repression, and oppression, with the exception of the elites. Yeah, obviously, always. Due to the hard living of the time, morality was held in extremely high regard. With Christianization by Saint Andrew in Dobruja, I have to say it is very weird to see Dobruja written this way. I typically see it spelled in the Romanian version, which is half the same, but after the R, it's Ogea. And it's not Dobruja, it's Dobroja. Anyway, moving ahead. As well as the geographical location of the country, roughly east meets west. That is one thing that is very strongly characteristic of Romania. The fact that it is a merging point between eastern and between eastern and western powers. Particularly, at least some of its pre-modern history is characterized by conflicts between the main eastern power blocks of Europe, the Ottoman Empire and the Russian Tsardom, having had a large impact on local religious fervor. Political troubles and warfare with the Ottoman Empire fueled rampant Islamophobia. Yeah, no kidding. And amplified the general population's sense of bigotry, especially towards non-Christians or those accused of non-Christian behaviors. Yeah. There is evidence of hard punishments for those caught in or accused of homosexuality, although typically only for poor citizens. Again, as to be expected. The nobility could freely engage in any and all sexual desires, though not always completely discreetly, nor to the complete approval of their fellow elites. So yeah, it's the kind of thing like if you can get away with it, then you'd just do it because who's gonna stop you. Sex and sexuality, as a general rule, was largely discouraged and frowned upon in medieval Europe, unless procreation was the ultimate goal. Nonetheless, evidence of homosexuality and LGBT individuals during the Romanian Middle Ages can be found in Dan Horia Mazilu's book Voievodul, Dincolo de Sala Tronului, or the voivod, the king, the monarch, beyond the chambers of the throne. Let me just angle the camera a little bit better. You can't really see my Dacian Wolf t-shirt as well from this angle, but you know what? I'm fine with that. If I'm gonna get some good views. Also, by the way, I do have to apologize for some explicit dialogue and for some explicit portions of this of this article. I'm just reading it as it is written. Namely, as I said, evidence can be found, and here are some examples. Radu, or aka Radu the Handsome, Radu the Fair, Radu the Beautiful, was raped at Adrianople, present-day Edirne, at the court of Sultan Murad II. The sobriquet of Radu, Vlad the Impaler's brother, the Handsome, the Beautiful, yeah, as we've already covered, these are some of his nicknames, results from effeminate traits and behaviors of the prince. Okay. Ilyas Raresh would have converted to Islam to get sexual favors. His bisexual behavior is also mentioned by historian Dan Horia Matei, having as source the Chronicle of Grigore Oreche. Grigore Oreche is considered one of the more accurate chroniclers of the time, but even he was not particularly immune to the hero worship that would have been typical of chronicle writers. So I don't know if that. But I'm not exactly sure if that level of hero worship is also that level of hero worship that is characteristics of kings that are considered good would also include some level of villainization towards kings that are considered bad, and also whether or not he would play into certain stereotypes through the usage of this. So I'm not sure if I'm not sure if this is meant to condemn in any way Ilyas for his sexuality. Mihnea Turcitul is the alleged lover of Kocha Sinan Pasha. Okay, that's interesting. Alexandru Iliash would have resorted to prostitutes, the best known being a Greek homosexual, Batiste Veveli. Fact also mentioned by Miron Costin in his chronicle. Yeah, okay. Now let's move ahead to the modern era, and it is somewhat interesting that Romania, for its history, has this goes straight from Middle Ages to modern. There, you could say that there is somewhat of an intermediate period, which would mean that uh, Romanian Middle Ages, or rather Romanian High Middle Ages, are have been relatively short. But really, that is not the kind of discussion I want to get. I really have the time or the intentions or the expertise to get into right now. So let's get into the modern era. 1864. The penal code promulgated by Alexandru Ioan Cuza, who I've already talked about in in another such video, inspired by the French model, does not stipulate any punishment for homosexual acts. Okay? At the end of the 19th century, the penal code in Transylvania, in force since 1878, punished only the homosexual rape, stipulated in Article 242. Again, I apologize for some, uh, for some, should I say, uh, challenging or unpleasant, or unpleasant wording, given the presence of given the mentions of some unsavory acts. I'm just reading it as it is and delivering my commentary. In 1929, that's relatively late. 65 years of nothing happening. Pamphil Sheikaru names writer Panaiti Strate poet of deflowered asses. Ooh. Istrate is the first Romanian author to write a novel, Kira Kiralina, in which a character is homosexual. Oh yeah, yeah, of course. One thing that I should specify here, that one aspect that really characterized the development of modern Romanian literary art and literature more broadly is precisely the existence of a very wild and very vivid criticism community, with a lot of with a lot of critics also engaging in the also engaging in novel writing, or in general literary creation, be it novels, be it short stories, be it poetry. So yeah, in that sense, there is plenty of criticism by within this ecosystem, and plenty of people who call each other out, even for things that that in hindsight don't really deserve getting having any kind of call out, because they don't really do any kind of harm. Oh well. Next up, in 1933, writer Joe Bogza is imprisoned for a short time in Văcărești Penitentiary for indecent behavior. Indecent behavior, that can really mean, that can really mean fucking anything. And the fact that it warrants him a time in prison is a little bit ridiculous. Anyway, Bogza just published the volume of poetry, Poemul Invectiva. Oh, the injurious poem. Yeah, that's the. I'm not necessarily familiar with this volume, but I think the idea behind it is that it's meant to be, it's meant to provoke. It's meant to, it's meant to stir, it's meant to stir some level of outrage and reflection. You find this outrageous? Why do you find it outrageous? That kind of thing. One of his creations is about a pederast. Okay. I do have to wonder. Let's see. There's a little. Okay, I'm moving the mouse over it, and then there's this little window. You know about it. Pederasty refers to same-sex sexual relationships between an adult man and an adolescent boy. Yeah, that's fucked. It's common throughout history, but yeah, it's fucked. Nicolae Ceausescu, who really needs no introduction at this point, was also imprisoned in Doftana in the 1930s for communist agitation. Why is he mentioned here? After the revolution, there were elusive discussions about homosexual relationships that young Ceausescu had maintained at Doftana with his colleagues of detention. Yeah, of course there would be. But again, it's really just a smear campaign. It's like, you're using gay as an insult kind of thing. 1936. The penal code of Carol II passes an unlawfulness to consented homosexual relationship. Yeah, he wanted to make he wanted to get Romania within the sphere of within the sphere of influence of Nazi Germany, or rather, he wanted to gain their favor, be for for reasons that are probably understandable given the Soviet Union was right next door. But yeah, still not a great yes, that's still not a great move. Article 431 provides imprisonment for acts of sexual inversion when provoking public scandal. Thus, any act of sexual inversion brought to public knowledge could be punished with imprisonment from 6 months to 2 years. And then we skip past the war because I guess nothing of note happened, happened during the war. At least at least on this front or back, whatever, and go straight under the communist regime. I do very much feel the need to add, to add some level of, to put communists like this. But moving ahead, 1947, the penalty for sexual inversion increases once with the installation of the uh, pro-Soviet regime rather than outright communist. I'm not gonna go into too many details on that. Thus, the mildest sentence was imprisonment for 2 years. And what would you have to do to get like 2 years? Does it is a caress 2 years? Is a kiss 2 years? Like yeah, you have to know the answers to that. Like come on, or is it just whatever the or is it just whatever the uh, policeman thinks, or is it just whatever thinks the police or whatever the policeman thinks that that you should get? Because if it is, yeah, that's not a great that's not a great it's not a great thing to have in your in your penal code. Just saying. In 1957, the penal code is amended again. Pederasts being liable to imprisonment from 3 to 10 years. Yeah, but again, that's pederasty. That is that is homosexual pedophilia because yeah, even that thing has to because I guess with homosexuality, even the even illegal stuff has to get fancy names. And still, the fact that it is mentioned here, I'm not a big fan of that. 1968. Homosexuality emerges as a linguistic term in the new penal code. Ideologically, homosexuality was unproductive for the regime. I'm not going to read. I don't necessarily want to say communist because it's more accurate to say regime because there are because there have been uh, because there have been pro-gay initiatives within communist countries. I'm not going to go into that right now. So I'm just going to say it was unproductive for the regime, which needed heroin Heroine mothers and an ascending demographic trend. The Grand National Assembly elaborates a completely revised version of the Penal Code, and sexual acts between persons of the same sex are considered crimes against the person and punished by Article 200. Sexual relations between persons of the same sex shall be punished with imprisonment from 1 to 5 years. Yeah, this penal code also included Article, not sure if Article or Decree 220, the one that banned all forms of contraception, and which led on the one hand to the birth of the most numerous generation of Romanians. On the other hand, it led to tens or even hundreds of thousands of young Romanian women dying as as a consequence of both as a medical consequence of both pregnancy and back alley abortion attempts. So, yeah. In 1977, Ione Goițescu, open homosexual, writes to anti-communist dissident Paul Goma in sign of solidarity. Securitate prefers to rake in Negoițescu's intimate past than to arrest him for assault on national security, which would have blamed Romania internationally. Okay. So I guess they put pressure on him to act on their behalf. That is the best thing. That is the best translation I can give for this kind of thing for this sentence. Moving ahead, young writer Petru Romoșanu, with whom Negoițescu would have homosexual relationships, is forced by Securitate to denounce as homosexual Negoițescu and other writers. Negoițescu has a suicide attempt with a dose of medication. Negoițescu and other gay writers escaped condemnation by intervention of writer Ștefan Augustin Doinaș. He conspired after 1990s, yeah, after or during the 1990s. Not sure why it's written that way anyway. As a collaborator with the Securitate, the secret police that the that uh, and that the Romanian pro-Soviet regime had in place. So I'm gonna guess this guy intervened on the behalf of his colleagues, as in, yeah, hey, don't kill. Should have muted my phone. Excuse me, just a little. Okay, I'll get back to you now. Oh yeah, as I was saying, Doinash pretty much interfered on behalf of the people he knew. Like, yeah, it's illegal, don't, but don't, but don't be too mean to them. They do still contribute to the grandeur of the, they do still contribute to the grandeur of this country. It benefits us to keep them around, keep them active, kind of thing. That's what I imagine. That's how I imagine that would have gone. 1981 to 85, the morals department of the Bucharest militia, the militia in this case meaning police force, conducted an extensive investigation in this period. 54 gay Bucharesters should have been tried and convicted, but the case was stopped by Zuzana Gâdea, Minister of Culture in those years, whereas among defendants appeared many artists and even officials of the Central Committee. Ooh, scandalous. Yeah, no wonder this thing was swept under the rug. Moving ahead, evolution since 1993. Not sure why. I'm assuming I'm assuming the first major development occurred in 1993 because by then Romania was firmly in its post-Ceausescu days. Moving ahead, in 1993, Ciprian Cucu, age 17, and Marian Mutașcu, age 22, two open homosexuals from Timișoara, were referred to the police by Cucu's older sister. The two were arrested in January 1993. According to Cucu, I was the first one to be interrogated. The investigators called me a whore repeatedly. Yeah, not surprised. On the 9th of June, both were convicted. Mutașcu received 2 years imprisonment, Cucu 1 year. Largely due to the intensive pressure from the international community, these sentences were suspended. In May 1995, Mutașcu committed suicide due to public jesting. Yeah, I am not particularly surprised by that. And there's a photo here by Mariana Cetiner. I assume we're gonna... Oh, she is right here, subject of the next line. 1995, Mariana Cetiner, born 1957, was arrested for allegedly trying to persuade another woman, Adina Vana, to have sexual intercourse with her. She spent 3 years in prison until was pardoned by President Emil Constantinescu at the insistence of Amnesty International. She was the last Romanian citizen to be imprisoned under Article 200. And there's a little something written about her here. Arrested in October 1995, sentenced to 3 years imprisonment under Article 200, served 2 years, was released by presidential pardon. Yeah. Okay, moving ahead. 25th October 1996, the Accept organization is founded, the first body in Romania which campaigned for LGBT rights. Okay, 2001, the government adopts an emergency ordinance which repeals Article 200 of the Penal Code in order to eliminate any discrimination on grounds of sexual orientation. The abrogation of the article was one of the conditions of EU accession. I think around this time, Germany introduced civil partnerships for gay people. So I think that gives you an idea of what it was like in the in the rest of Europe. The Netherlands had already legally recognized gay marriages by that point as well. Moving ahead, in 2004, Accept, or Accept as it is in the original Romanian, organizes the first gay festival in Romania under the title Festival of Diversity, event that included a gay film festival, an exhibition of posters and photographs, book launches, and public debates. 2005, Gayfest Bucharest takes place, the first Romanian gay pride parade. There have been several since, obviously. A historic event for the LGBT movement in Romania. Yeah, I can pretty much say that. 2017, the first pride parade outside Bucharest takes place in Cluj-Napoca. Again, not surprising, it's Cluj-Napoca is a is in many ways a very cosmopolitan city, similar to similar to Romania's capital. And it happens to be the site of Romania's most well-known and well-recognized academic body, the University of Babeș-Bolyai. It is, as far as I can tell, a perhaps not very, but quite student-friendly city, and therefore it very much leans into that. It may have been designated as the as the European capital of culture in one of the almost 20 years ever since Romania was an EU member, but whatever. This goes a little bit beyond the scope of this video. Moving ahead, in 2018, a referendum to establish a constitutional ban on same-sex marriage fails due to low turnout. Yeah, I was actually I was actually there, and okay. I wasn't actually at the referendum, but I know it was it was a very hot potato around around the time, and it is one where I more or less have been where I pretty much had a front row seat when it comes to the various discussions that emerged. I also have a video on that. And then in 2023, the European Court of Human Rights rules that the Romanian state is breaching Article 8 of the European Convention of Human Rights, the right to respect for private and family life, by not allowing same-sex couples to marry or register civil partnerships. True, but Romania does, to at least some extent, protect protect civil partnerships that are registered, outside of it, in the sense that they have, in the sense that, for example, if a Romanian marries a foreigner, said foreigner still has, still has visitation rights, for example, or stuff like that. But yeah, the fact that this still is the fact that this still is banned doesn't really is is yeah no, it is not a good thing. Let me put it like this. It it goes against the it goes against the rights that certain people have as for towards equal protections under the law. And and I really don't want to comment too much on how likely that is to change, because, well, Romania kind of has other issues it's going through right now. Just saying. There's also an article on LGBTQ rights in Romania. There's a whole bunch of references. Let's see. How Romania became a battleground of the transatlantic backlash against LGBT rights. The Voivod, I already said that. There's the penal code is coded multiple times, and a variety of various newspaper clippings. Okay. There's also this article here on LGBTQ rights in Romania. I might look into it on my in my own time. For now, I would like to say thank you for your attention. If you've enjoyed this little incursion into the into into Romania's LGBTQ history, well then please like the video. Maybe even share it wherever you think other people will also like the video. If there is anything you'd like to add, either to the article itself or to my reactions or commentary to it, well, that is what the comment section is for. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe. And ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. I also have a main channel where I primarily talk about the print medium and selected works therein, a link to which you can find in the description down below. Right past my social media links, which I also suggest you check out should you choose to. If my thoughts on the print medium aren't of interest to you, well then I suggest you stay on this channel and go through my extensive backlog, where you're gonna find a whole bunch of things that I've done, from Wikipedia readings to a variety of other reactions and commentaries, primarily based on television, cinema, and video games. I also touch upon other topics. Just go for my backlog. You'll find a whole bunch of stuff there. If, however, you don't find yourself to be particularly interested by anything that you might find there, well, then I suggest you go ahead and do whatever you want the rest of your day because it is your day after all. And yeah, that was it from me. So until next time, I have been the One Take Man.